What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the King's Court podcast presented by CowbellKingdom.com and the Basketball Zone here on YouTube. Joining me today, and the very first show on this network since joining the CK team and the Basketball Zone team, the one and only Zak Noble. Zak, what's going on, buddy?
Woo! Happy to be number one. We out here, and happy to see your face. It's been too long, my man.
It's been way too long, brother. Way too long. For those who don't know, Zak is a part of the Ball is Life network. He has a show out with Noble and Roosh. Great guest. I think your most recent show, and I'm glad this is your most recent show that at least I listened to. And if there's been more pods out and I haven't listened to the others, I'm sorry. But the most recent pod I heard, you had Miles Turner on the show. And, man, these guys get some amazing guests. I love getting to talk to him. But my favorite part about you, Zak, is more than just your podcast. It's that I get to bet with you every single day. That's right. I'm bringing you everyone behind the curtain right off the get, bro. Right off the get. But for the fans that haven't got to meet you yet, especially here on this platform, I mean, my listeners will probably know who you are. I've had you on a couple times, but let the fans out there that are just now meeting you probably for the first time now on this network, how you got into it, how long you've been doing this podcast for Ball is Life, and what they expect on your show.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, long story short, I was pursuing being an agent for the longest time. Wanted to be an agent since like sixth grade. I represented a couple guys overseas. Tried getting into sports another way, and then I randomly decided, hey, let's try breaking into the podcasting world, and met a partner in 2017 in Kansas City when I was living there, and just hit it off. He was an ex D2 player and good personality, and we had a good three and a half year run, 208 episodes in, and a lot of guests, and that's what kind of just different topics around the league, trying to cover the entire league, and been growing ever since. And then I ended that show and started the Noble and Roosh show with Roosh Williams. He's a Houston guy. He's a lawyer by day and avid Houston sports guy by night. And some mornings now he's getting on ESPN in Houston there. So proud of the moves he's making. But yeah, we've just been having a lot of fun growing this thing over the last year and a half, and had 65 plus current players on, and probably like 180 guests overall. So really proud of that work we've done. And Ball's Life is growing a podcasting network. So it's been a big fun and a lot of growth there with them. We kind of were the first podcast with them, and they've really been growing a lot. So they've gotten past NBA guys on, and yeah, it's just been fun.
For sure, brother. And I'm glad that I've been with you before you guys were even with Ball is Life. I mean, I've got to know you guys for a long time. So it's been great that I feel like I got to grow with you guys a little bit. You know what I mean? And that feels pretty good about it. But, you and I talk about basketball every single day, whether it's, on a podcast, something like this, or just through text message. And, I want to kind of break down the entire league as a whole. And we'll probably end the show because we do cover the Sacramento Kings on this podcast, knowing by the name and as you guys can tell by the logo, quite a bit. But, I know that you're a big Minnesota guy. You're a big Timberwolves fan. And your Timberwolves are kind of a little bit of up and down. Karl-Anthony Towns has looked amazing. Karl-Anthony Towns has looked like Karl-Anthony Towns of old. But the team continues to have their struggles in the fourth quarter. Let's go ahead and jump right onto that team. What has been your biggest takeaways from that Minnesota Timberwolves team?
Yeah, if you ever want to watch just a random good basketball game, turn us on, because I mean the play style might not be what you consider good, but like it's going to be a close game. Every single game is pretty close, besides probably 2 or 3 blowouts on the year. But hey, who doesn't get blown out once in a while? With that said, though, it usually doesn't work out in our favor when the game is close. We usually give it away to the other team. And honestly, you say Karl-Anthony Towns been looking like the Karl-Anthony Towns of old. I say that's not a great thing. It's getting tiring. It's the same guy that's been falling out 3 out of the last 5 games, and he's just a guy that gets beat up by the refs. And he think Luka's got a bad stigma with being bad with the referees. Cat's even worse, or just as bad, you can say. And it gets old and tiring, and the leadership hasn't evolved. He's been the same guy since literally year two. So I've just been really proud of the way we've um, stayed the course defensively. That's basically been our identity this year. But do I think it's going to last? No. So we got to figure out our offensive identity, because that's what this team's made of. Otherwise, we're going to need a big trade here, and I see that's more of the likely scenario coming up.
So let's look at Towns, and then it'll lead me to my next question. So Towns on the season right now shooting just above 50% from the field, 81% from the line. He's almost getting 3 3-pointers per game, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. I mean, he's doing the big statistical numbers where if you're not watching this team, you would think that this guy is leading his team to big wins. And I was just watching him the other day.
He's a goddamn masterpiece.
Right, and I was watching, and I unfortunately watch a lot of the Minnesota Timberwolves games, mainly due to the fact that they are so close, and I have them a lot of the times in my parlays, and I like to bet with them, but they tend to screw me there in the fourth quarter. But the reason why I bring up his stat line is then I move on to second-year Anthony Edwards. And Anthony Edwards is taking a major leap this year. He's shooting 42% from the field, 80% from the line, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. But the thing that's been getting me is those 2 steals per game, 1.6 per game actually on the season. Is he starting to become the new centerpiece of this team? Is Cat becoming the number 2? Because it seems obvious to me that D'Angelo Russell is just the point guard, is that nice third option that can score, has the ball in his hands, and can distribute the offense. Karl-Anthony Towns is he seems to be the focus of the offense, but I feel like when I watch these games, that's not what Minnesota wants to do. They want to start leaning heavily on Anthony Edwards and seeing what he can become. He definitely gets the ball in the closing moments. It mainly goes to him, especially when they're down by at least 2 to 3 points and they need a 3-pointer. It starts the ball in Anthony Edwards' hands. Do you feel, being how close you are to this team, that it's starting to lean more to Anthony Edwards' team and the other guy, and they're going to start building around him and he's that leader? Or do you still think this is Cat's team and the numbers show that?
First of all, do yourself a favor and quit putting them in your parlay, my man. That's not doing anybody in the Miracle family any good. But with that said, yes and no. It needs to be going more to Ant, but he still is taking the back seat to Karl. He's really there. It's really a tough combination because there is no flow in our offense, and that's been the number one underlying word or theme of this season is flow, which there is none in this offense. There's defensive flow. There's none in this offense. And it's just a bunch of individuals out there. And D'Lo and Vanderbilt have definitely brought some sparks and some light to this offense and made some symmetry, you can say, but it's very little and very rare. Cat's still been the centerpiece. He has, but that's just because Ant allows him. We need Ant to become more the centerpiece, and he is the future. This team ceiling is way higher when Ant's thriving. But yeah, like last night, it took him a quarter and a half to get going against Atlanta. Then he starts chucking up bad shots. He's still not the most intelligent player and takes a lot of bad shots. And just there's no 2-man game with him and Karl. It's still just give it to Cat on the high post. Ant just sits out there and watches a little bit, not moving. Hopefully he can catch a board or two and figure something else out. It's not the most pretty basketball, but there's obvious talent, and Ant has grown in all aspects of his game. I mean, his stat line proves that, but the eye test does as well. I'm more proud of Ant on the defensive side of the ball because he cares about that, and you can tell he wants to be a great two-way player, and he'll get up in your business, and he's not afraid to at all times. But until that little handoff of saying, Ant, get going from the beginning, don't worry about Karl, then there's really never going to be a transfer of power. And I think there really needs to be, because we've seen what this team can be with Karl at the head of it. We don't know what can be with Anthony Edwards leading the pack. And I just think there's so much more to be untapped there, and I think they can do it together. But do I think I want to see that or wait for it, or if it will be passed? That's all to be determined. I want to see some progression. If they're going to do it together, yes. If they're not going to do it together, let's move on. Let's
Yeah.
figure this thing out.
I'm so confused on what the role of Malik Beasley is. I feel like Malik Beasley had such a significant role in terms of just being a floor spacer, being that shooting guard, small forward that at least was out there to create space. And then they've been ramping up his minutes a little bit here, but I feel like it's mainly just due to the fact that Patrick Beverley has been out for a significant amount of time now. Was it 5 games because of a hamstring or something like that? So you're looking at the standings now at this team, right? And they're 11-13. They're just a half a game for the 8th seed against Denver, a half a game out of the 7th seed against Dallas, who just lost today, by the way, against the Nets from this recording. And yet, I still don't know if they're a playoff team with all these other teams still struggling. Denver, I mean, they're holding on because of Jokic, and Jokic is one game away, one play away from another rolled ankle to where he's out 2 to 4 weeks. Knock on wood. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't wish injuries on anybody, but he has such a high usage. Portland, who is only a half a game above the Kings and hold that play-in game, just lost C.J. McCollum now today, breaking news, due to a collapsed lung, and he could be out. I mean, from early lookings, from what I've researched on the issue, is a minimum of 2 weeks, and it could extend much further than this. It seems like it could actually be pretty scary. So they're out now. Lillard, McCollum, Simons hopefully can return, but they're struggling. Where do you see Minnesota stacking up, or where do you even see this is the Kings court. Where do you think the Kings can stack up, even with their early struggles? Do you think this is a time now where the Kings could say, hey, we get it. You've been the joke to start the season, but the chance to still make the playoffs are right there in front of you. And the same thing can be said for Minnesota. So what are your thoughts on those two bottom teams?
Yeah, I think it's opening up really nicely when you look at almost 5 through 12. I'm not going to say Houston's going to keep winning here and stay in this thing, even though Christian Wood and crew. I mean, Christian Wood is looking like. Yeah, I don't think so either. But it's fun to think about all the potential there. I do believe in it. But as for Minnesota, there's no excuses here. It's play in or bust. I mean, if we don't make the play in, Cat's got to be gone in the offseason. We got to just build this thing around Ant. But if we make the playoffs, we should feel pretty good about ourselves. I truly think we should be able to get in that top 8. I had us pegged at 7 before the year, but now I think we're more a 9-10 seed. I don't think Portland hangs on here. I had Portland out of it at the beginning of the year too, and it's just looking ugly. There's too much smoke over there and too many rumors flying around, and Dame's too involved with the noise. I think he gets too what is it you say, inundated or
Twitter
just
happy.
all caught up in he's all caught up in that shit. And Twitter happy. But Sacramento,
at some point, a rap song's coming soon, guys. I feel it. I feel a rap song coming.
Needs a diss track coming for Woj and Neil O'Shea. We need that Woj Neil O'Shea diss track. He just had a good tweet about him today. But Sacramento, if De'Aaron Fox can get back on track efficiency-wise and it stays consistent, and they figure out this rotation and play of these guards, I believe they can get some work done and squeeze their way in. But Alvin Gentry, is he the guy though? Can he whisper to these dudes? That's the question I got. I mean, I don't know. I've never been a big Alvin Gentry guy, regardless. And I don't know. They got enough talent. I like what they got going on other than the guards. I don't like that combo. I never did when they drafted Davion Mitchell, but I liked the value there that they got at that number. But they've always been a trade away for me, and now there's way more potential than there has been for a small market team and players that are willing to go to those small market teams. So it is a very fun time to come on here and chat it up with you. But I just think there's so many ways this team can go, and why not just grind out a couple wins? Because it's nobody's playing great ball outside of a couple teams at the top of the West right now. So
Yeah, the
go
Phoenix,
make your mark.
Utah.
Just
Those
grind.
are it. Those are it. So you say that, and then you start hearing the rumbles. Like you said, there's smoke, and it's not the good stuff that you're smelling coming out of Portland. You know what I mean? And there's fires going off all the way out there in the east, from Philly to now Indiana, where they've just announced that they're going full rebuild mode. They announced today that they are going to, or at least it's been reported, I should say, that Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis, and Karis LeVert are now all on the table. Philadelphia, Maxey might be out there on the table to get a Ben Simmons deal. Is Lillard going to be gone? I feel like there's going to be a lot more movements now that more teams are willing to separate themselves from, or defining themselves, I should say, as either a rebuild team or a playoff team. And I think these bottom echelon teams like the Kings or Minnesota that are still play in or bust, like you said, they're willing to try and take that type of home run move. And look, I have so many trades, and I can throw some at you. I really could, but I'm gonna start this conversation off with this, and I want to hear, Zach, some of your trade scenarios maybe that are in your head, or where you think some of these people can go, or where you think they should go, or teams that should be targeting them. But my personal opinion, and I've been saying this for a long time, and there's no real source behind it other than gut feel, I think the Kings strike out on any type of Ben Simmons front, and a deal that does get made that is going to be sneaky, that doesn't get talked about until it happens, is going to be the Kings going after Pascal Siakam. I think that is going to be the situation that happens. That I could be wrong. I would be ecstatic if the Kings went after a guy like Domantas Sabonis. Personally, I think that's the best player on the table that could really help them. But my gut feel is the Kings take a big home run and they try to get Pascal Siakam. But you've heard now all these rumors, right? You got to see the things going out there, and you've even had guys like Miles Turner on your show. So I don't want to, like, if you have a personal connection, I don't want you to throw in anything. But what is your feel out there? What do you think some good teams are that could be going after these guys, or do you have any trades in your heads that we should discuss?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with everything you just said there. So, the Kings, I mean, they're not a huge destination. That's the first thing you got to put in your mind, and you got to kind of narrow it down that way. I mean, luckily Ben Simmons isn't a guy that has the power to put a bunch of teams on his destination, on his radar. Like I said, this is like the perfect time when player wise that would be going to anywhere and everywhere if the right fit. I mean, if the right role, and they're in California in general, so that helps. But Pascal Siakam, love that idea. That's probably my favorite, and I think there's a great chance that that could happen. I do like Montes Sabonis there. I like maybe Miles Turner, but I mean, Rashawn Holmes is, I mean, very close to
I
as valuable, you can say.
I
But
hear
I
you.
don't know if they can play together. But I definitely love Miles Turner a lot more than him. But then Ben Simmons, I'm not ruling that out yet either. But it's just I don't know what's going on in the Kings front office is the hardest part. Like Ben Simmons, I think they're going to need to give up the most to get, and not saying that's worth it. But I do think Kings have offensive weapons. Okay, I think they got guys that can thrive offensively. It's just they need to go for the most upside possible. I don't care what position and where, when they're looking at trades. And then second, defense. If you can find defense out there, um, that's another way to make a mark when you don't have the most talent, and that grind out more victories and guys that play smart. All those guys we mentioned are those type of players outside of Sabonis on defense. I mean, he's definitely an average to slightly plus, but he's not like Siakam or Ben Simmons by any means. So with that said, it's like, who do you want to keep? Who do you want to build your team around? I think with a Siakam deal, with a Sabonis deal, you might be able to give up more picks there. I think in a Toronto deal, you might need to give up a better player than you would for like a Sabonis. I think if Indiana's doing it right, they would be fine with. I value Sabonis at about 3 firsts, roughly there, and then cap filler. And then Ben Simmons, on the other hand, you'd have to literally talk De'Aaron Fox, and I personally think it's worth it. I've wanted this. I think
I've been on that trend. I've never fully committed to the De'Aaron Fox for Ben Simmons. I've just consistently said, if I am this Kings front office, I am considering doing this deal. It is something you have to consider, because if you do De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley, can you not hear me?
You cut out there what you're proposing.
Okay,
Came out clear at the end.
What I was saying is I believe that the Kings should really consider doing a De'Aaron Fox trade. I've never committed to saying that it is the trade that should happen, but I do believe that it's a trade that they should consider. And if you do De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley, a first round pick, and you get Ben Simmons and another player, maybe a Korkmaz, I don't feel like that's the worst deal, because then you get another floor spacer in Korkmaz. You have Tyrese Halliburton. You have Davion Mitchell. And the biggest piece to me that I believe needs to fit there, whether it's Davion Mitchell at the 2, is Buddy Hield. I think if you're going to acquire a guy like Ben Simmons, you're going to want as much shooting as possible around him. And Buddy Hield is the Kings' only real shooter. However, the guy Leo, our host here at Cowbell Kingdom, he always says this, and it's something I do consider whenever doing a De'Aaron Fox Ben Simmons trade, is I understand that De'Aaron Fox is a primary scorer. I get that. I fully understand it. I fully see why he is a primary scorer. Oh no. It looks like Zach got kicked. All right. You back? There it
Yeah,
is.
you're much clearer now too.
Wow, okay, there we go. You're back. You're back. You're clear. You're super clear. There we go. Edit that.
So, talking about a Simmons deal.
Long story
Yeah,
short, I
just
think I think De'Aaron Fox, a first round pick and whatever, and you can get a, say, I don't know, Korkmaz, Ben Simmons in return for that. In that type of deal, you get a bunch of shooters around Ben Simmons, and you get to keep Rashawn Holmes, and you get to keep Harrison Barnes. I think it makes sense. Again, I just don't know if that is the step that they would really take. And for me, I think a Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, and a Tyrese Halliburton. You give up 3 first round picks, and you get Ben Simmons. I'm asking for Seth Curry in return. Like that has to be a thing for me. And I was having a conversation with a friend today, and I was asked, and I think it's a good question, what's the biggest difference between Buddy Hield and Seth Curry?
The biggest difference is I personally think Buddy Hield can last longer. I think he can just give you more often. I think he can volume wise. I think Seth Curry is just more of a lightning bolt. I mean, a jolt. I think he can give you spurts. I don't think he can give you 20 points per game. I think Buddy can even give you 25 if De'Aaron Fox is out of there and you got Ben Simmons. I personally think Buddy can be a big time scorer more than he even is, and just stay hotter longer. And outside of that, I mean, sure, you might be able to say Buddy is slightly better everywhere else offensively besides defense. I'd probably give a little edge to Seth, but it's not by much. I mean, if he's in the right system, and I think he can be a decent team defender and help defender, but one-on-one, no. I mean, you want Buddy on an island all day if you're on offense. But
I'll throw these stats out for you for this because I thought this was a good argument. Is Buddy Hield shoots 38.8% from the field. Seth Curry shoots 50% from the field. They both take one takes 11.6 shots, the other takes 13.6. They're both shooting over 80% from the free throw line. Buddy gets you 4 3-pointers to Curry's 2. They both average the exact same, 15.9 points per game. Buddy gets 1 more rebound. Curry gets about 1 more assist. They get the same amount of steals, same amount of blocks, same amount of turnovers. So I thought it was a good. I thought it was a good little debate. I agree with you though. I think Buddy Hield is capable of getting hotter faster, if that makes sense.
Oh, on paper they absolutely look identical. If you put them side by side, no name, no nothing. I just think Buddy can create more. I think Buddy can just. I think Seth is more of just a catch and shoot guy. I think he's just more of a spot up guy. I mean, yes, Seth can probably locate as well as Buddy. I think they're both good movers. I just think you can do a lot more with Buddy Hield. I truly do. And I just, like I said, I think he can stay hotter longer. I also think a part of that's just who Buddy's playing with right now. Yeah. I like Seth's looks so much better than Buddy's looks. I truly think it's not Buddy Hield. It's everyone else around him. He's an environment guy. There's been guys in the past that have been like that too. I mean, JJ Redick's been like that. Trying to think of others, but there's so many other guys that are all about who they're playing with and what type of looks they're getting.
For sure. So let's move out to the East. Okay, so let's start moving out to the East. We talked about the West enough. I think we talked about the Kings enough. I got the trades out of the way. That's the big thing for me. We look out East, right? Brooklyn does still hold the top spot. They won today. They're 17-7 now. Chicago sitting there at number 2 at 17-8, and Milwaukee finally streaming together some games at 16-9. I'll come right out and say it. I think the East is the better conference this year. I think that they should be considered the front runners in terms of a team coming out and winning the championship over anyone in the West. And I think Phoenix should still be the favorite to come out. I like Utah, but I think Phoenix, when fully healthy, they're just one scary team to go up against. But looking out East, is any one of these teams surprising you and have solidified themselves as the true number one contender? I'm not saying that the Nets being number one, they're their number one contender. You know, they can get hot or cold at any game. Is there any team out East that in your mind is that number one contender, still has the target on their back because you can tell there's something special there?
So I think if you get peak Harden of this year, if you get peak everybody on the Nets team this year, they're still my number one favorite. But that peak Harden doesn't come very often right now. It's one every 2.5, every 3 games. But he's been way better than people make him out to be because he does so much else other than scoring. And he's just relied upon in so many different aspects. I mean, he carries the biggest burden in the league. Nobody's been asked to do more than James Harden this year than I can imagine. I mean, KD relies on James Harden so much and just fits himself in, and he's just been so good where he fits in. And KD fits with literally anyone, anytime, anywhere, and he's just that efficient. I mean, it's what KD does. And he doesn't do a ton else right now because he lets Harden run the show. Like, I truly think we're only getting 90, 95% right now of KD, closer to 90. I mean, he's coasting. But the Milwaukee Bucks, when their trio's playing, they're undefeated. I'm picking them right now, gun to the head. If I'm picking a title favorite, it's them. Phoenix is right there as well, but I like Brooklyn and Milwaukee better than Phoenix. Golden State, they got a chance if Clay comes back. But in the East, like we're discussing, Milwaukee Bucks, if the trio is healthy, and I think they will be, Nets are probably going to need Kyrie or a little boost if that big three's rolling like they are. They've been incredible when they've played together. Their chemistry just gets better every time they hit the court, and there's no way they're not healthy come playoff time.
Zak Noble from Ball is Live joins us here on the Kings Court podcast for Cowbell Kingdoms Basketball Zone YouTube channel. Zach, what about the Miami Heat? I think the Heat are kind of being slept on a little bit. I get it. They haven't been the greatest team, and their defense has kind of been hit or miss. They're 14-11 right now. They're tied with the Washington Wizards for 4th place, but they haven't even really been healthy, right? I mean, they just lost. They just lost Jimmy Butler, and they've already ruled him out for Wednesday's game along with Markieff Morris. I don't know. I feel like Miami is still considered a dark horse, and I like them. I feel like they have a playoff caliber team. Ton of shooting, guys that can get their own shot, but the number one thing is that defense. I feel like when they're locked in, they can contest and beat anybody.
Yeah, they're defensively as good as anybody in the league. I will stand by that. I picked them defensively in a playoff series over Golden State, who holds the number 1 defensive rating. Miami is 5th in points per game, but 12th in defensive rating. I look at them as a top 5 defense. I really do. They're deep. They fit. They can guard anyone. They can switch. They can drop. They can do it all. And adjust. And they got one of the greatest coaches. My thing with Miami is Kyle Lowry going to be good enough for him when come that time? I think Tyler Hero's only getting better. Duncan Robinson will be much better come that time, but they're relying on Tyler Hero way too much.
Team's second leading scorer right now, I believe.
Maybe it will help Kyle Lowry reserve and keep energy come playoff time. I mean, that's the biggest question here is if Kyle Lowry can last throughout the entire season and be great come postseason here. But I don't know, man. I just don't think their best can keep up with Milwaukee or Brooklyn. No matter who's playing for Brooklyn, as long as Harden and Durant are out there, they're really good. I love their depth. I love their fits. I just Bam or Lowry is going to need to get just a tad bit better for me to believe in it because the Kyle Lowry, yes, he's been great. Don't get me wrong. Kyle Lowry's efficiency, his playmaking, his passing, elite. He's as good as he's been. But I need to see Lowry be able to get 30 more often, 35 even. He needs to have an explosion come playoff time because I think the East is too good. You said at the beginning.
Yeah.
The East is better, and the East is too good for Jimmy to go super serious and just bulldoze his way through there again.
I just need to see a consistent 15 to 20 points per game with at least 9 to 10 assists from Kyle Lowry. These games where he's only scoring 8 points on or even 12 points on 4 of 15 shooting is bad. They need a Kyle Lowry that's more than just a voice. They need a guy that's impacting the game, especially when you have guys like Bam, who's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks after getting surgery today. And we're recording this here on a Tuesday during TNT time. So, I feel like Lowry needs to step it up, but I think you're right. I think they're trying to hold on to him and see and make sure that they're healthy. Their mindset is get to the playoffs, and that's when they'll be ready to play. And a healthy Bam, Jimmy, Markieff, and Hero, Duncan, they got a lot of talent over there, and I'm excited to see what they are. So let's go ahead.
Do you like Strus or Vincent? Like, can they be enough for you? I mean, to give them a boost there. I mean, I know they're shooting great. They're giving them some sparks here and there, but
well, Gabe was out here in Stockton. Gabe was out here on the Stockton team, on the Stockton Kings, and he has some elite defense. His motor just never dies down. The fact that his jump shot is as pure as it's been, he has given me reminders of Gary Trent Jr. every time I watch him. I really like. I'm not saying he's gonna get to that level. I mean, that's a high bar to fill, but Gary Trent. It was a hard worker. His defense got him on the court, and his 3-point shooting got there. So I really enjoyed that. But I think Gabe Vincent is a really strong player. I think Matt Strauss has shown he can be a shooter. He intrigues me. I think Dwayne Dedmon is going to fill in nicely. He's been doing what he can. I think he's averaging like 11 rebounds per game as a starter so far, which is pretty interesting. But they're my sleeper team. But, Zach, I really don't want to keep you too much longer. I just want to get one more thing out of you, and that's this. We've seen now almost 25 games of this season so far, right? What is the team that no one is really talking about that needs to start being on people's radar, whether that means being a league pass team because they're too entertaining, or it's a team that you feel like is going to have a real shot at surprising people in the playoffs and possibly even making it to an NBA Finals.
Ooh, that's a big loaded question here. So
It is. But
a
I
lot of
saved it for
people
the
will
end.
say the popular answer right now is the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, I'd love to be able to say your Kings. That'd be a pleasure to see them or the Wolves do the thing. But I'm not going there. I'm not that drugged up right now. With that said, I do think the Bulls are the most fun team to watch right now that's under the radar. I don't think they're a true contender. They're defense away. I don't think their defense is going to last come playoff time. I do think they could make it to the second round, maybe even the conference finals, but I don't think they're a true contender tier one. I do think there's a team like Boston, there's a team like Toronto that a lot of people think suck right now, and a lot of people think are way too inconsistent. I do think Boston could make a trade to become a true contender. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum could finally click and figure it out. And Al Horford's been so dang good for him. Dennis Schroeder's been off and on, but his stat lines look good every night usually. It's just, can he play within the system? Can he make others around him better? Is he going to be a plus on defense tonight? It's just so many things that go into Dennis nightly. But I do think Boston, with the Tatum, Brown, and even Robert Williams getting better, I think there's talent there to have a high upside. I still want to believe in them. Toronto, I love the direction they're going. It's just Scotty Barnes isn't going to be enough factor come playoff time. I think they could be a second round team, but if they were to get like a Sabonis or Ben Simmons in there somehow, things could get spicy, interesting. And Philadelphia, there would be the last one I'll touch on. They need Damian Lillard to be a true contender. I love what Maxi's doing. I love that they're grinding nightly, and Embiid's, when he's peaking, he's been as good as he ever has. He's MVP Embiid again. But they need Dame. They can't waste this guy's prime, and it should be fun. I think it's pretty wide open right now overall. But those are the teams I think could take a much bigger leap from where they're at. Move or not move. I mean, Tyrese Maxey can elevate that ceiling a lot depending on how good he gets this year, and I just think he's getting better game after game.
So my NBA League Pass team, I have two, and you took one of them, so I'm going to say the other. The first is going to be the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, like I said, you said that one. But the one that I'm going to put on your radar, and I watch this team way too much, is the Toronto Raptors. I find them super entertaining. Scotty Barnes is just so much fun to watch. I don't know what direction they're really going in. They stay competitive, though. They're a gritty team. I really like watching them. If I had to say a team out west that I enjoy watching, it's only really the Warriors. I mean, the Suns are just so efficient. The Jazz are kind of boring, but the Warriors, man, they stay super competitive. Now, if I have to give you my dark horse team, I can do the obvious one, and it can be the Lakers. I mean, they're currently sitting in 8th place. They're 12-12 with a game going on right now as we're doing this show. It's a big game against Boston. So maybe that could be the team. But my dark horse, and again, it's a team that also played tonight and they lost, but I like them, and I think they're one move away, and it's the Dallas Mavericks. I think there's potential there. I love Luka. I think that he has the potential to take this team further in the playoffs, definitely into the playoffs, but further than most people are anticipating him to. If Kristaps can stay at this type of level and stay healthy, and they can just add that one piece, whether it be a center, because I don't know if Kristaps still likes playing center. That's why they keep playing guys like Kleba and stuff like that to kind of man that role. But if they can maybe get a Sabonis somehow, some way, in Dallas, I mean, you add a Sabonis LeVert in some type of trade, It might have to be 3-team, I know, but that's my team. That's the team I'm like, you know what? They got offensive firepower. They're one move away, but the talent between their two stars is so high. I feel like you have to just keep an eye on them. They're that team. Maybe you can even say Atlanta, maybe, but Luka Magic. I believe in that. I believe in that guy. That guy is just too good, man. But Zach, I really do appreciate you joining us here on the show. The first episode here on the Basketball Zone YouTube channel. But before I let you go, let the fans out there know where they can find you online and what they can be expecting from you here in the near future once they start listening to the Noble and Roosh show. Oh, I think you muted yourself, buddy. You're muted. You're muted. No, you're muted. I want people to hear this. Oh, no. You're still muted. You got to hit that unmute button. Oh, he signed out again. All right. Well, I will let everyone know where they can find him online. Oh, he's calling back. Let's see. Let's see if he's unmuted. Hey, I can hear you again.
Just had to refresh. So, no, I really appreciate you having me on, Vince. It's a pleasure being the first ever episode of your new network here. And hit me up on Twitter, people. I'm interacting all day. Zak Noble, ZAKNOBLE. But mainly, check out my podcast, Noble and Roosh, on Ball is Life. Had Miles Turner, James Worthy recently. Got lots of player interviews nonstop. That's kind of our niche and go-to. So, just interact with me anytime all over Ball is Life networks.
Great interviews, too.
I appreciate that.
Look, there's an interview, and this is a couple of years back, and we were talking, and he had Justin. Who was it? It was I think it was Justin Jackson.
Holiday?
No, it was Justin Jackson when he was on the Kings, I believe.
Yep.
And this guy ordered a pizza mid-show, and he took the phone because they did a phone interview. He took him to go get the pizza out the door with him, and it's a great little clip. Nice little clip. I'm telling you, they have fun. They have great questions. Catch. Man, you guys go check out their show, guys. Noble and Roosh on at Ball is Life on Twitter, at Zak Noble on Twitter. You guys go check him out. I appreciate you guys joining us here on the King's Court. And what's a first episode without a little ups and downs, a little technical difficulties, guys? Right? Remember, subscribe to this YouTube. Right. That's right. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Remember to hit that notification button right there so you guys can continue to see videos like this as soon as they get posted. Shout out to our sponsors, RateCrushers.com and, of course, FanDuel.com. I've been your host, Vince Miracle. You guys can follow me on all social media platforms of @VMCenter. And until next time, Sacramento Kings fans, bye-bye.